Welcome to What is Truth, brought to you by the Southern New Mexico Church of God in Las Cruces, New Mexico. What is Truth is a weekly program which seeks to focus our attention on the truth of God's Word. Now, with this week's lesson, here's Pastor Meyer Stahl.
Welcome to the program. I'm Meyer Stahl, the pastor of the Southern New Mexico Church of God, bringing you the program, What is Truth? And today's subject is, How does God answer prayers? Part 2. If you missed Part 1, you could find it on YouTube, where we have over 500 different programs. All you have to do is type in What is Truth with Meyer Stahl and pick out any program you'd like to see. Now, before we get started, we have two very important booklets I would like to share with you today. The first booklet is Predestination. A lot of people do not understand predestination. They think, well, you're predestined to be lost, you're predestined to be saved. What's the use? You're going to be lost or you're going to be saved. That's not what predestination is all about. This booklet explains it clearly from the Bible. Now, let's look at it. Predestination, does the Bible teach it? It shows up 4 times in the Bible. Is your ultimate fate decided for you in advance? That's what a lot of people believe. No subject has baffled, perplexed, and worried people more. Here, for the first time, is many will read the astonishing truth, so plain all can understand. So, this booklet is absolutely free, and we have another booklet called Why Do You Observe Sunday? And the Bible teaches the observance of the Sabbath. So where did Sunday come from? Which day did Christ and the apostles observe? Which day did Paul teach Gentile converts to observe? How did the day become changed from the 7th to the first day of the week? That's right. Saturday is the 7th day of the week. Sunday is the first day of the week. Some people have it mixed up. So I ask you to please read this booklet with an open mind. If you are already right, honest investigation will but confirm it. If you are wrong, you should want to know it. These 2 booklets are absolutely free. We'll send them out to you. All you need to do is call us at area code 575-650-7359, 7359. And read them along with your Bible. Anytime you read any Bible literature, make sure you read it along with your Bible to make sure it's biblically correct. Now, before we get started, I want to explain one of the ways that God has answers prayer. And sometimes He will answer prayer through your mind. He will send a message through your mind, telling you what the answer is to your prayer. I'll give you an example. There was a young man who attended a Bible study. One of these Bible studies was part Bible study and part evangelism. And he was inspired, really inspired at the end of the Bible study. And he prayed to God. He says, God, I want to be used by you. Will you use me? And he didn't get an answer, but he got in his car and he was driving home. So a thought came into his mind. Stop and get a gallon of milk. He thought to himself, I don't need a gallon of milk. Why should I stop and get a gallon of milk? So he kept on driving, and the thought came to his mind, take a right turn here. And he thought, well, if I take a right turn here, I'm going to be away from my house. I'm not going to be able to go directly to my home. So he kept on going. And then the thought came to his mind, turn around, make a U-turn. So he thought, well, okay, I'll do it. Turn around, make a U-turn, now make a left turn. Because if he was going one direction, he would make a right turn. He's coming back the other way. He's got to make a left turn to go to the same direction. So the thought came to his mind, stop here. And there was a little store, one of these little, like a 7-Eleven store, and the thought came into his mind, go in and buy a gallon of milk. So he thought, well, this is really strange, but I'll do it. So he went in and bought a gallon of milk. And then he got back in his car, and he went back to the street where he turned, and the thought came to him, turn left. So he turned left, going back the same way he came. So another thought came to him, take a right. So he took a right. So he's following what his mind is telling him to do. And then his mind told him, stop here. So he stopped here. And he got out of the car, and he looked around, and everything was dark. And the thought came to his mind, go over to the door across the way. So he went over to the door across the way, and he looked up, and there was no lights on. I thought, this is really, really strange. So, knock at the door. The thought came to his mind, knock at the door. So he knocked at the door, and the window opened up on the second floor, and a man put his head out the window and says, what do you want? He says, well, I'm not sure. I got a gallon of milk here. The man says, I'll be right down. So he comes right on down the steps, opens the door, takes the gallon of milk, runs back up the steps, and this young man is just standing there, not knowing what's going on. Well, finally, the man comes back down the steps and comes back to the door to thank this young man for bringing a gallon of milk. He said to the young man, my wife and I were praying for some milk for my baby. And we had no money, we had no milk to give my baby, and we were praying. And you showed up at the door with a gallon of milk. Well, the young man now understood that God was using him. And God was using him in his mind. God was directing him to bring the gallon of milk to the man to answer his prayer. So this young man opens up his wallet, takes some bills out, hands it to the man, and he says, well, thank you. And he goes home and he's rejoicing that God used him. God answered his prayer. That's one way God answers prayer, through your mind. A second way would be in a dream. Now let's go to the Bible. And we'll go to Genesis. We'll go to Daniel chapter 2. Let's go to Daniel chapter 2. Daniel chapter 2, verse 1. In the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams, wherewith his spirit was troubled, and his sleep broke from him. Then the king commanded to call the magicians, the astrologers, the sorcerers, and the Chaldeans, for to show the king his dreams. So they stood before the king. And the king said unto them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream. And then spoke the Chaldeans to the king in Syriac, O king, live forever. Tell your servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation. And the king answered and said to them, the thing is gone for me. I forgot. Have you ever dreamed a dream and you forgot what you dreamed, but it had a great impact on you and you just forgot it? Well, I have. If you will not make known unto me the dream with the interpretation thereof, you shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made a dunghill. Whoa, this is heavy. This is really heavy. But if you show the dream and the interpretation thereof, you shall receive of me gifts and rewards and great honor. Therefore, show me the dream and the interpretation thereof. They answered again, said, let the king tell his servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation thereof it. They couldn't do it. They just couldn't do it. So here it is that he's going to, he gets very angry for this cause, verse 12. The king was angry and very furious, and commanded to destroy all the wise men of Babylon. And the decree went forth that the wise men should be slain. And they sought Daniel and his fellows to be slain. So Daniel and his friends were counted among the wise men. Then Daniel answered with counsel and wisdom to Arioch, the captain of the king's guard, which was gone forth to slay the wise men of Babylon. He answered and said to Arioch, the king's captain, why is the decree so hasty from the king? Then Arioch made known the thing to Daniel. And Daniel went in and desired of the king that he would give him time, and that he would show the king the dream and the interpretation. And Daniel went to his house and made the thing known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions, that they would desire mercies from of the King of Heaven concerning the secret, that Daniel and his fellows should not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. Then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in a night vision. So Daniel also was asleep, and he dreamed a dream, which was the dream that King Nebuchadnezzar dreamed. And then Daniel blessed the God of heaven. And Daniel answered and said, blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. Here's the key verse. Key verse is right here, 21. And he changes the times and the seasons, and he removes kings and sets up kings. He gives wisdom unto the wise and knowledge to them who know understanding. He reveals the deep and secret things. He knows what is in the darkness, and the light dwells with him. So here it is. Daniel now understands the dream, and he's going to go before Nebuchadnezzar and explain Nebuchadnezzar the exact dream he dreamed and also the interpretation of that dream. We're going to take a very short intermission. Please don't go away. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Ray Bamberg with Here on Earth. I would like to invite you for a free hearing evaluation to our office. We've been here in southern New Mexico for 34 years helping people hear better.
Call Mark Goldstein, the Safe Money Guy, at 575-556-2472 to learn about innovative strategies now available to help you grow, protect, and preserve your money and financial future, regardless of market conditions.
There you go.
So great, you can do all these different gears like one hand.
Okay.
Nice.
Guys, not all, but...
Welcome back to the program. In case you tuned in late, our subject today is How Does God Answer Prayers, Part 2. If you missed part of it, you could go back on YouTube and you could watch Part 1 on YouTube. All you need to do is type in "What is Truth" with Meyer Stahl, and it brings up any number of over 500 different programs. You could choose any program you like, anything you like, and check it out. They run less than a half an hour each, so they're easy to watch, and it's not long programs. They're short, and we're happy to share with you everything we know. So let's go back to the Bible now. Let's go back to Daniel chapter 2. And here we are in Daniel chapter 2, and we're looking at verse 25. And it says here, "Then Arioch brought in Daniel before the king in haste, and said unto him, I have found a man of the captives of Judah that will make known unto the king the interpretation. And the king answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar," he changed his name, "Are you able to make known unto me the dream which I have seen, and the interpretation thereof?" And Daniel answered in the presence of the king, and said, The secret which the king has demanded cannot the wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, the soothsayers show unto the king. But there is a God in heaven that reveals secrets and makes known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. Now, I want you to understand, I want to stop here and explain something. The latter days, it talks about today and into the future also. These are the kingdoms, the world-ruling kingdoms that ruled the world from Nebuchadnezzar down through the Medes and Persians, the Greeks, the Romans under Roman rule, and even today, there are 10 nations in Europe that are gathering together that are going to seek world domination. This is important. The second chapter of Daniel is very, very important. Please pay attention to what Daniel is saying here. Okay, verse 31. You, O king, saw, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before you, and the form thereof was terrible. The image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly, his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron, part of clay. You saw till a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and broke them to pieces. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the shaft of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, and no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. We're going to stop there for a moment. This is symbolism. Now, Daniel explains the symbolism. It's important that we understand the symbolism because these are world-ruling governments that are ruling even today. Okay, let's go verse 37. Verse 36. This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. You, O king, are King of kings, for the God of heaven has given you a kingdom, power, strength, and glory, and wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field, the fowls of heaven, has he given into your hand, and has made you ruler over them all. You are this head of gold. So the Nebuchadnezzar represented the head of gold. The Chaldean represented the head of gold. And after you shall arise another kingdom, world-ruling kingdom, inferior to you, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. Well, the two arms, we'll stop there. The two arms and the breast were of silver, two arms and breasts. Those were the Medes and the Persians. Now, after the Medes and Persians was the belly and the thighs of brass. That was the Greek domination from Alexander the Great on to Antiochus Epiphanes. And then after that was the rule of the Caesars, was the Roman rule up until Jesus' day. Now let's go down here to verse 41. And whereas you saw the feet and toes. There are 10 toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron. The kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it the strength of the iron, as much as you saw the iron mixed with partly clay. Verse 44 is a key verse. And in the days of these kings, what kings? The 10 toes, represented by the 10 toes, shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. That hasn't happened yet. This is yet future. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. We're stopping here. So there are 10 kings yet that are what is called in Daniel chapter 11, the kings of the north. There are 10 ruling kingdoms, ruling governments, and they're going to come down against the king of the south. We're going to talk about that next week. So please tune in. We're going to do part 3 next week. It's going to be important that you don't miss it. Okay, we're going to reveal who these kings are, who these governments are. And you're going to understand prophecy. This is prophecy that has not yet happened yet, but will. So why don't you order these 2 very important booklets, Predestination, Does the Bible Teach It? And Why Do You Observe Sunday? The phone number on the screen is 575-650-7359. We'll send them out to you right away. And until next time, this is Meyer Stahl of the Southern New Mexico Church of God saying goodbye, my friends.
You have been listening to What is Truth with Pastor Meyer Stahl of the Southern New Mexico Church of God, located in Las Cruces, New Mexico. For copies of today's lesson or for more information, call area code 575-650-7359. That's 575-650-7359. Join us next week at this same time for another edition of What is Truth? Until next week, we wish you God's richest blessings.